We usually cheer or chant for institutions and ideas, but tonight is very special. So, Marilu Cagayana, ang bait niya! Marilu Cagayana, ang bait niya! Marilu Cagayana, ang bait niya!
Thank you. Drew, ang bait mo!
Tayo po'y lahat ay manalangin. A prayer for this household, for Malu and her family, especially for her mother, and for her children, and her grandchildren, and the entire clan over here. For all of us here, Filipinos and Germans alike, and for Germany, and for our beloved Philippines.
Pastol.
Ibuti mo, Bathala, sa lahat ng panahon. Kaligasa iyong likha, nilalang
Sakit. Paninti mo yun. Ano pang Diyos mo sa pagkalang Diyos?
naway aming makamtan sa sandaigdigan aming panalangin kasi gawa ng bayan Panginoon ikaw sa
This is a story of friendship that goes at least 2 generations. My father was an expatriate. He was a Lebanese. His name was Butrus Abraham Fakhri. Marilu's father was also a Spaniard by the name of Chuchu Rodriguez. Both of them were engaged in similar businesses. Both of them were engaged in similar businesses. Trucking and freighting and fuel, gasoline. Chucho Rodriguez was the manager of the first and the biggest Caltex station in town. My father was the manager and operator of the biggest Esso at the time, Mobil, before it became Esso, it became Petron, right in town, and they were face to face of each other. But they had a very interesting friendship. They were, of course, natural rivals because they were engaged in the same business, but they were also natural friends. Because so one needed gasoline, he borrowed gasoline from the other. When one needed trucks to ferry tobacco, corn, or rice from Tuguegarao to Manila, or vice versa, then Chuchu would borrow from my father and vice versa. And that developed friendship, friendship between our families. What I remember about Marilu, she must have been 7 or 8 years old. She was studying at St. Paul's, and she was the fairest white as Labanus white. drum and bugle majorette. Can you imagine? This must have been around 42, 43 years ago.
Blessed from the past. Wow.
And she was always, because she was very, very fair, and all the Banat players behind her were very, very dark, she naturally stood out. And that's what I remember of her. Then in 1986, I was on a human rights grant. I was based in London. Marilu, I heard, lived somewhere in the Frankfurt area. I didn't know exactly where. I went to London. As it happened, there was a function where then Secretary Gonzalez held a tourism promotion effort. And as it happened, I saw her. And when she said, "Are you Abraham from Tuguegarao?" Immediately she invited me to her home. And that certainly even deepened our friendship. Since that time, we hardly communicated with each other. I would hear of her from her elder brother Jack, who is a very good friend of my younger brother Joseph. Both of them are in the business field. And I'd hear about her from time to time. Sometimes I read of her in the newspapers, where at one time she was the biggest exporter of Mercedes-Benzes in the Philippines. Did you know that? There was already a German-Philippine business connection even in those days. And then came 2011. I started discussing the possibility of a tour with Contour P around November. But it seemed so far-fetched. By February, I started thinking of it in more concrete terms. By May, I started communicating with the embassies. And the embassy said, you cannot communicate with us directly. You have to coordinate with the Office of European Affairs in Manila, and which is what I promptly did. Somehow, she got hold of me. Or did I get hold of you, or was it how?
Vice versa?
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. And then so I said, Marilu, what do you think is the possibility of my group visiting, performing in Germany? She never even doubted it. Yes, she didn't even know my group. Probably because of Tuguegarao and Cagayan and the family relations. Yes, let's do it, he said right away. Because she knows that there are not too many Cagayanos who lead groups like this from the Philippines. They did Tagalogs and all of these other groups, but not Cagayanos. We are Ibanags. Yeah, she has an Ibanag Ilocano background, and there are only about 500, 600,000 speakers of that language. And so we are a minority language in relative terms. And so I wasn't so sure I could pull this off, but she kept on insisting, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. You know, when Malu wants something, I mean, she gets it one way or the other. She will twist your arm, she will charm you, you know, until it gets done. Then shortly afterwards, yes, things were moving along slowly. There was a meeting of Philippine ambassadors to Europe in Manila, and I was invited to perform. Luckily, I was invited to perform. We were invited to perform, and a lot of them liked it because it's different from the usual. The usual would be a choir or a folk dance group, maybe a rock band or Itbulaga. You know, some pop starlet or something like that. And so they took it on right away, realizing that a program like this would also promote one of the missions of the embassies, which is the promotion of culture, arts, and tourism. In other words, there was a confluence of interest in this case. Pretty soon, they started giving me their cards, and that is how I got to know Ambassador, Her Excellency Ambassador Cleo Natividad, and she said, you're going to Berlin, one way or the other. But that was just the beginning. Pretty soon, we started communicating with all the embassies. Some of them responded well, some of them did not respond at all. In any case, Malu, as it happens, already had contacts among the embassies. She has had that for several years now. So it wasn't enough that you talk to the embassies. It had to be, you had to be reinforced by somebody they know. And that was Malu. Take note, Berlin, Den Haag, Prague, Litoměřice, Bern, Luxembourg, and within Germany, people like Klaus and all the others. This was even before she constructed the management team. In a very, very real sense, ladies and gentlemen, this tour would not be possible were it not for Malu's inspiration and hard-headedness.
Bravo.
And for that, we will always be grateful. We have made quite a number of, I have in mind quite a number of offerings to Malu. The first one is a small brochure on Contre Gabi, something that you can keep. It's not big, so you can just put it in your pocket anytime. We don't have enough of these, so I'd like you to receive it. Our particulars are there.
Thank you.
It also means that if you want us next year, our particulars are there.
We'll go to Spain and Italy next time.
Very good.
I'm looking at Venus already.
A word about Venus. It was Venus who gave the tip to Marilu, who gave the tip to me, that Branly, the Musée Duquet Branly in Paris, probably the most prestigious ethnological museum in the world, had scheduled an exhibition of Philippine artifacts for 4 months from April to July. That was the entry part. Here's the second part of the story. When we started organizing, I gave the whole month of June to Malu. And then pretty soon, some adjustments had to be made. I think it was Andreas who suggested, let's try to make it May instead. Perfect, because the Branly Philippine Week at Branly, let alone Philippine 3-4 months of the exhibition, Philippine Week was 27 to May 5. And he wanted it in May, and so let's join it. Let's go from Branly to Germany, from Paris to Germany. Unfortunately, it didn't work, for one reason or another. So it backtracked. By the time it didn't work, we had already committed ourselves to Branly, and luckily so, because with Branly, it was an opening for us to apply for funding from agencies like the NCCA, DOT, and so on. The prestige of Branly caused us to be able to raise enough funds for at least 5 or 6 of our 17-member troop. Therefore, I could not move away from the May schedule. But the unfortunate incident is that I had no idea that it takes God Himself to extend the Schengen from 90 days. If you count from May 3 our departure, or May 4 our entry, until July 31, that's exactly 89 days. The 90th would be August 1. Yeah? And so we tried everything we could. Talk to the embassies, our embassy people, talk to the ambassador in the Netherlands. We talked to the ambassador in Netherlands Immigration Office, the Immigration Police, the Foreign Office of the Netherlands, because it's our entry point. We have four festivals right after Germany. We have 4 festivals in the Netherlands. And so the rule is, when you go to Europe, the country with the longest stay is where you apply for a Schengen, as you know. But we did try. We talked to our ambassador in Switzerland, Leslie Baha, Ambassador Iparraguirre of Vienna, and then Ambassador Astra Garcia and then Ambassador Natividad of Germany.
With a not verbal.
With a note verbal. And Ambassador Morales in The Hague, and in Brussels, a good friend of mine, fellow activist from the old days, Vicky Bataclan. Not to forget Cristina Ortega of Paris, who was the first to invite us in the first place. It just didn't work. It just got too complicated. I didn't know how to apologize to Malu for all. Imagine forming a management committee in October, getting them together for meetings every month, having to feed them when the meetings took place, all of that sort of thing. And I just didn't know how I could apologize to the management committee, especially to Malu. Until this thing developed, and thank you very much to Klaus for allowing this particular evening.
Big hand for
and
Klaus.
it saved the day for us. For Malu.
For the management team.
For the management team. Therefore, we prepared a very special program for the management team, which not even Klaus, who has seen about 5 or 6 or 7 of our shows, has seen.